After the devastating shock of discovering my sister Sarah with my now ex-boyfriend Tom, I spent several days in a fog, struggling to process what had happened. My phone was constantly buzzing with messages and missed calls from both of them, as well as from my parents, but I just couldn't bring myself to respond. I was too overwhelmed, too hurt. Eventually though, I came to see that Mark, Sarah's fiance, was one person who definitely needed to know the truth. With a heavy heart I made the difficult decision to call him. When Mark answered, I could hear the confusion in his voice. He asked what was going on, mentioning that Sarah had been in a terrible state, saying that I had disappeared and wasn't responding to anyone. Taking a deep breath, I began to explain everything to him. I told him about the suspicions I had initially had, how everyone, including Tom and Sarah, had brushed off my concerns, and then I described in detail the scene I had witnessed in my parents' garden. Mark listened quietly, not interrupting, only occasionally making a small noise to let me know he was still there, absorbing everything I was saying. When I finally finished, there was a long heavy silence on the other end of the line. Then in a controlled measured voice, Mark simply thanked me for telling him, adding that he needed some time to process this information. With that, he ended the call. Afterwards I sat there, staring blankly at my phone, wondering what Mark would do now that he knew the truth. As the wedding day approached, I heard nothing further from him or from the rest of my family. Sarah had ceased trying to contact me and I began to suspect that she had somehow managed to convince Mark to forgive her. The thought that she might actually escape the consequences of her actions, that she could go on to have her fairy tale wedding while my life was in shambles, made me feel physically ill. I realized that there was no way I could attend the wedding. The idea of watching Sarah walk down the aisle, knowing what she had done, was too much to bear. Instead, I decided to spend that day alone, focusing on how to rebuild my life in the wake of such profound betrayal. On the evening of the wedding, I received an unexpected call from my cousin, Emma. There was an unmistakable tone of excitement and urgency in her hushed voice as she said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened." Confused and intrigued, I asked her what she meant. Without hesitation, Emma dove into her story, recounting the events that had unfolded. She explained that everything had seemed normal at first. Sarah had looked stunning in her wedding dress, and Mark had been standing at the altar, ready for the ceremony to begin. But when it came time for the vows, Mark had unexpectedly stepped forward and announced that he had something to say. My heart began to race as I listened to Emma describe the scene. Mark, in front of everyone, declared that he couldn't go through with the wedding. He told the guests that he could not marry someone who had betrayed her own sister and devastated her life by getting involved with her boyfriend. Emma continued, recounting how Sarah had turned completely pale at Mark's words. Then to everyone's shock, Mark turned to my parents and apologized, telling them that they needed to know the real reason why I had distanced myself from the family. Emma went on to say that Sarah had started crying. My parents had been left startled and perplexed, and the guests had started whispering among themselves in an attempt to make sense of things.